speaking of big budgets, this is what we had to jump on here for today. This is breaking news. Elon Musk has bought a significant portion of Twitter. Hey, by the way, Will, can you turn my headphones up a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't know if they turn down or not, or if I'm just like losing my hearing or having a stroke or whatever. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I saw this news breaking this morning, a couple different articles, handful of articles. I'm here tracking the articles. I'm like, oh my God, this is a big story, big story. It's actually been going on for a little while. So a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, he goes on Twitter and does this poll relating to free speech. He says, free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? And he puts a poll. This poll gets 2 million votes. And the results are that over 70% of people say no. We do not believe that Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle. In other words, kind of agreeing with him. It felt like a leading thing where you could kind of feel his answer in the question. You know what I'm saying? But he's also kind of talked in that way in the past. Freedom, words like freedom, Will. You ever heard those words before?
Gotta love it.
Texas. You ever heard the word Texas before?
Yes.
Exactly. And so anyway, then he replies to this poll and he says, the consequences of this poll will be important. Please vote carefully. Ooh. And that was at 4:26 a.m. Although I guess it wasn't quite so late / early in the morning in Texas, considering time zones and such. Well, you know how those work. But he says it's going to be important. So then some people thought, oh, he's going to make his own social media. That was the rumor. They're like, maybe Elon will just do like Truth Social 2, which was Trump's social media.
Yeah.
And Elon's like, no, here's a faster way. What if I just buy a major stake in Twitter and have some sort of input into how Twitter operates? And that's what happened here today. That's the news today. Twitter shares surged 26% in pre-market trading after the regulator filing released Monday, detailing Musk buying the holding. Bloomberg reported the stake is worth about $2.89 billion based on Friday's market close. So that is about 10%, just under 10% of the company. Now, I know to some people they would say, hey, 10%, not that big of a deal. But actually, that makes him a significantly bigger shareholder than Jack Dorsey, the founder of the company, who owns like a couple percent of the company at this point. So it's very major for an individual to control that much of Twitter. Or I shouldn't say control, own, I suppose. That big of a share, a 9.2% stake. So that'll give him some kind of voice, presumably, when it comes to decision-making around developments.
Free speech?
Well, we don't know to what extent he'll be a part of how they craft their policies, or if he wants to even go back and say, well, now that I'm a 10% holder, I want Trump back. No, I'm not saying he's going to say that. But
Salacious.
No, I just saw people's, on the conservative side, like I saw some people from that Twitter sphere being like, great, now Trump's coming back.
Right.
Or something like along those lines.
Well, his idea is free speech for everyone. And let the, social decide. Like the social landscape.
He's all Texas.
Yeah.
He's all Texas all day. He thinks it's really important. And I think another interesting piece to add here is that Elon has kind of committed to Twitter as his de facto platform for discussing things. And like I was driving my kid to school today and he's like, why would Elon want to do that? Right? Why would he want to, $3 billion on Twitter? And I was like, well, there's a couple reasons. There's obviously his impression, like what he has said about free speech, but there's also the fact that the platform has become so important for him and his businesses, right? That's how he gets news out. Now, I realize he could start a website, but that's not how people work. For him, he's one of the biggest influencers on the platform. I mean, you can see some of these tweets with 250,000 likes and retweets and everything else, 80 million followers. He's one of the most significant players on the platform. And this is also kind of a way of him protecting his outlet. protecting his broadcast medium of choice. This is a guy who quit Facebook products a long time ago, right? Left Instagram a long time ago, went on Rogan's podcast, said he wasn't with what was going on Instagram. So there's like a personal side of it as well, where he stands to personally gain as one of the prominent players on this platform that he is now a part of the journey going forward and some of the decision making internally. So I think there's a couple of different upsides for him. Some personal, some that he would probably perceive as like global and so forth. But just try to imagine Elon Musk's personality, his businesses. Try to imagine his prominence in the absence of Twitter. Like, how do we talk about him every day? Or whenever we do, it's like it starts as tweets almost always. Like, what other way could you perceive him? Obviously, there are other ways, but what other way would you perceive him having this public persona? You kind of have to pick one. Like for Kanye, he quit Twitter and then it became Instagram. Although he was deleting things half the time, but it just became Instagram where you could find him. This is where people are at this point. You want to reach people, you got to go and pick one of these places. And for him, it's the beautiful thing about him choosing Twitter is that even if you don't use Twitter, the news still gets sourced from what he says on Twitter, and then whatever article you choose to read or whatever website you read or whatever videos you watch or whatever YouTube shows like this one, it's like the easiest, fastest way for him to exert his influence or to talk to people or even to poll people. Imagine just running a 2 million person poll. Where does he do that?
Yeah.
So I think that he's got a number of incentives here. Plus, maybe he wants to make money. Maybe he thinks Twitter could be more effective at making money. And if you own 10% of the company does better, well, then you do better for that as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard. We obviously don't know the whole story. We don't know the major incentive because here's another point. The guy's got many, many billions of dollars, and maybe there's only so many things you can do with it. He's like, give me some Twitter real quick. I'll use this at a later date. I'll exert some influence here on a later date.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what the
So you like this. You like this. This is a great
poses.
thing. This is a great thing for the universe. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah. I support what he does here. I think he is a good spokesperson for Twitter. And a good character on Twitter. And there's a lot of memes, and he lives on the internet, and it's really fun to watch him kind of evolve.
And this is an important thing that you just reminded me. If you like Twitter, then you need people to be on Twitter, because ultimately Twitter's ability to make money, which they haven't really been all that efficient at historically, their ability to make money and continue to run the thing relies on having a thriving user base. And if you think about it, any of these thriving social medias require personalities that keep you coming back. They require humor and entertainment and drama and all these other things. And most importantly, they require like influencers. I know people hate that word, whatever you want to call it, personalities.
And this is also one of the social media platforms where you can talk to them.
You can just tweet at them.
Yeah.
So,
or DM.
I mean, I'm not going to guarantee you're going to get a reply.
Exactly.
But you absolutely can. You're right. It is one of those things. So I know people get upset with it. They're like, well, screw off. I don't like this person, or I don't agree with this person. I'm not saying Elon Musk. I'm saying anyone for that matter. But ultimately, if these personalities are the reason that people are staying on the platform and they're able to turn these things into businesses and they're able to sell ads because of the existence of these prominent figures, then you kind of, if you want the platform to continue to exist, then it is somewhat reliant on those, on some personalities. I don't know. Could they be replaced with other personalities? Possibly. But the evidence seems to suggest that his following is significant and will continue to be significant.
Yeah. Congrats on the big purchase, I guess.
Just a quick $3 billion.
Yeah.
Just a quick, let me grab a little bit of that Twitter. I was actually surprised to find out that there was no bigger shareholder than that. That made him the biggest single shareholder at
9.2.
Roughly, yeah, just under 10%. I also didn't know that Dorsey was only, 2.5% or whatever it is. I know he's not as involved in the company as he used to be, but yeah, 10% of a big company is a big number. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got other stuff going on too. I don't know how day to day he could really be with Twitter. He's got other stuff going on.